From your perspective, Kim, how do you go from research to something tangible like a persona or a journey map that allows you to and align the team or a team?
Yes, yes. That's a really good question, Ren. And you put me on the spot. I feel like something a student here. But yeah, I think part of it.
Make it too easy for you.
So with the whole idea of personas, I always say that a lot of this we have containers for what we need to fill in the container of what constitutes a persona, right? And
Mhm,
we're told that, okay, you've done this great research. We need to synthesize it into an actionable artifact, i.e., a persona. And some of the things that are contained on, say, a persona container, if you want to say that, so we could act on either things like the person's context, their motives. And we've gone further to say, okay, well, we have a persona. Let's give the persona a name. Of course, I always caution a little bit around the name because we like Maria, right? I think of Maria, and sometimes I forget that there were other Marias that inform that Maria persona, right? And so, how do we actually go from that process? It's really synthesizing the patterns that we see from this chaotic mess, right? And say, okay, we see patterns of activities that these people that we try to design for do. We
mhm,
see common motives that these people do. So it is really what is happening in that process, that synthesis, sorry, is extraction of big patterns that
mhm,
tell us that we see these things, we need to react to these things. So motives, we see that in the case of all the Marias, they're single moms, they have to get home, so time is an issue, right? So these things become distilled and
mhm,
housed in the persona bucket. So we will need motives, we'll need context, we'll need a lot of things. But one of the dangers of personas as we have known it today is that it's a bucket that we fill in. They have templates for it, right? We fill in the template. And I think
mhm,
there's a lot lost in that as well, too, because there's a lot that is unseen because we're only reflecting these five little buckets of information that we need to act on.
mhm.
Yes.
That's a
So for me, yeah, so in short, tracking patterns,
mhm,
and situating it, synthesizing it in a persona bucket slash template and saying, now we can work. And I don't know necessarily that, that is with all the years that I've been practicing, that is necessarily the truth anymore because the world has changed so much, right? A lot of
mhm,
the things that the personas as a collective do is also reinformed by the technology itself, right? There's this constant reinforming of people by technology. So is that the real thing, right? So
mhm. I really
yeah.
like where you're going with this and things that you've talked about relevant to the, how and when you've used personas and how it's been effective or not. Where
Yeah.
the, typical use of personas that I've seen is that they can remain very static over time.
Mm.
It, sort of assumes that that person is it's just a statement in a document, or they're, documented per that moment in time. But what I really kind of reflecting on as you're talking through how you've used those is that and amazing that you've got some examples where you've had teams, colleagues, peers that you've worked with over time that
Mm.
then kind of like took that persona and allowed it to be kind of more dynamic and,
Yes.
and thought about the context and then, kind of real time talked about where is now, as your example, Maria in her life stage, and then how do we, react to that as a designer researcher. So so how do you make sure, or how can you, a
Yes.
persona, a journey map, that they not only represent research, but also, drive empathy and meaningful experiences?
Hmm. Hmm. How would I discuss? So the question is specifically around how these personas inform the research as well as enable empathy, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you for rephrasing.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So I was
What
trying
I
to,
was thinking about is that like talked about how a persona is it's a document or a representation of a sorry, I got my cuckoo clock.
o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Kidnapping. I love that. Love that.
It's so
Mhm.
funny. It reminds me of my mother. She had a cute cuckoo clock.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Did you?
Yes. I didn't
Wow.
wanna say it because I didn't wanna get off track, but I grew up with this tall clock. It was as tall as me at the time, and this
Yeah.
little clock would come out, "Cuckoo," and go back in. Yeah, so that was one.
That's so funny. I would, not that I mean, I only had a few times where I would, like, stay for, like, a longer period of time was and when I was a kid because she lived on a farm, and so when I would hear the clock, me and my brothers, we would, like the clock was in the living room, and so then we would, like,
Yes,
run into the living room so then we could actually see the bird come out.
yes, yes,
Like, "Oh, gonna get it! Try to get
yes, I had the same experience.
it!" So
That is so cool. Oh my
so
gosh, leave that in. You gotta leave that in. I love that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it triggered a beautiful memory for me as well too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's clock, podcast o'clock. Um, so we're
Yes,
uh,
yeah.
so,
No
yeah,
question, I
using it
remember.
so the personas, they allow us or a persona in a journey map represents the research or the outcomes. I wonder how might we also use these to drive empathy and then, um, help initiate those that we're creating requirements for or, really want to, um, create a even better experience for the people that we're designing for. Are there things that we can, change in how we think about them or how we use them or how we represent them that really helps us drive that, how we look at how to design for people and how we want people to
Yeah.
be more empathetic, putting themselves in the shoes of the user, which we know is always very hard for people to do. It's like yes, we put ourselves in the shoes of the users. Like, well, if you're not only if for the person, people, we believe, you tell me if I'm wrong with this, but it can be very hard to translate that the feeling that we have after interviewing, observing, immersing ourselves with those that we're designing for to those that then we want to action on our recommendations.
Mhm, mhm. That is such an amazing framing. So, of course, I will invoke Maria again just to keep the continuation going. And to me, when we think about personas as well, to Ren, I think how that should inform research is that personas are also representational of a moment in a time span, right? And so with Maria, she might have started out with a little baby, and now her baby's now 11 years old. So
Mhm,
the Maria that we're designing for when she had a little baby is not the Maria that we're designing for. So, one, in terms of informing the cycle of research, we need to be cognizant of the fact that the thing we've captured is static, and there
mhm,
needs to be continuation to reinform the design practices of the designers designing for the Marias of the world in the example that I gave earlier. So that's one thing. So I know we take these personas and we present them to, the engineers and we present them and we give them value when we do that. But by the same token, we also need to consider that the way we present them, we need to frame that these are just pictures, like a photograph that you take, right, of
mhm,
somebody. And that person may have changed and grown from there. So one, yes, it needs to be an artifact that is informing of a cycle of research that is not just stuck in time.